GMC Pearl Brandon. We welcome in our friend Tom Luginbill, 20 years with ESPN and part of ESPN's national college football team. He had a hell of a game on Thursday night that we were all watching while we were in Starkville, and we actually got a to-go order of Taste Italian Kitchen. And those coaches are now heading to Arkansas and Florida. But Tom Luginbill, good morning. As much as you grew up as a coach's son, started at Georgia Tech at QB, and you have been following this crazy sport that we all love for years, did you ever think 5, 10, 15 years ago that you would see what played out in Oxford and Baton Rouge over the weekend, Luke's?
No, I don't think I ever imagined one individual holding college football hostage for, 2 or 3 weeks. And what this thing's turned into, how it unfolded, I think it's a really bad look. I think that, Lane Kiffin, I didn't like his public statement. I applaud Ole Miss for putting their foot down and essentially saying, no, we're not doing that. And they should have done that. And the ultimatum to the coaches, if any of that is legitimate, about getting on the plane if you want a job, all of this stuff, it just reeks. It's not a good look for college football. It's not a good look for the profession. And I don't think it needed to be handled this way.
All right, so, he wouldn't give them an answer the last 2 to 3 weeks. I think Keith Carter probably, he exhausted and explored every option that he could with Lane, while also balancing that they're going to play more football, like you said. So I guess at the end of the day, when all the chairs were filled, as we just said, Summerall to Florida, Golish to Auburn, Silverfield to Arkansas, the whole drill.
Yep.
That, with the way if your team's in the college football playoff, Keith just didn't have a lot of time, right, Luke? So promoting Golding was, I guess, the only option.
Well, yeah, he didn't have a lot of time, but I actually like that move because I think Pete Golding's earned it. And I think it provides some level of stability going into this run, which is really important for those players, and to give them the best shot of preparing to, win a college football playoff game or more. And, you got to wonder too, Bo, in all of this, because the timing of the transfer portal being in January, the month of December being a dead period, signing day is 2 days from now, right? You got to come up with some plan to be able to glue this thing together, to be able to get into January and February and move on with a new regime with as few fractures as possible. And it's going to be hard. Listen, is it going to be the same team in the college football playoff that we've seen the last 12 weeks? Probably not. They're going to be short-staffed. They're going to have to probably upgrade analysts and graduate assistants to full-time position on-field coaches. There's a lot going on for Pete Golding to prepare this football team.
All right, so Joe Judge will call plays. Mississippi State alum, long-time NFL with Belichick, as you know.
Yep.
And he's now been back in the college. He was at Alabama for a couple of years, I think early in the Saban tenure. And then of course, the Saban-Belichick connection. He goes up there and has a hell of a run as a special teams coordinator and so on. Talk about that kind of flipping out. I mean, look, Lane drove the offense. Joe Judge is very talented. He's a football savant. The guy, he's been a friend, so on. But talk about, Lane is the driving force behind that offense. And I don't think that we need to sugarcoat that, Luke.
Right. And so it's Joe Judge's job to minimize change, minimize any drastic deviation from what's brought them to this point, right? You don't want to all of a sudden reinvent the wheel. You know the offense, you know the terminology. The only difference should be who's making the call in the moment. That should be the only difference. And I don't think you make any type of radical shifts because you want to maintain consistency and stability with the football team. And I think Joe Judge knows that. I think he will do that. I think, to be honest with you, Ole Miss is very fortunate to have somebody of his caliber on the staff
Agree.
to fit this role right now. I mean, think if they didn't. I mean, that's a big deal. So it's going to be interesting to see what they look like, but they'll be well prepared.
Yeah. Okay. So Joe Judge, OC, Pete Golding, DC. John Summerall hold on. One more thing. So they've got about 19 or 20 days before they play. I guess we're going to see if the college football playoff dings them for coming out of them blowing out Mississippi State, that they're hosting a game, the 19th or 20th in Oxford, Luke's. Okay. So, but there's talk about what the committee did a couple of years ago with Florida State, and they may or may not penalize Ole Miss for Kiffin leaving. How do you see that, Luke?
Now, when you mean penalize, meaning not making the playoff or dropping them into a different seed?
No, they're in, I believe, in the playoff, dropping them out of hosting a game.
It's one thing to do what they did with a quarterback, because that guy is on the field and playing and has such a drastic impact on the outcome. I just don't know if you would do that to this team. And to be honest with you, it's not fair to the kids.
Yeah. So you think they'll hold and give them, you don't believe that they'll drop them in seeding?
No, I don't. In fact, I think, depending on what happens with the SEC championship game, if Alabama were to lose, they could be hosting Alabama.
Right. Okay. All right, let's continue on with the coaching carousel. John Summerall, from Troy to Tulane to Florida. I think it's a hell of a hire. What do you see here, Luke?
I think it's a great hire, too. My only concern, when I saw this come across yesterday, is they go out and they hire a general manager out of the NFL, and my question would then be, who's in charge? Is there alignment between the head coach and the general manager? Is there alignment in player evaluation philosophy? Is there alignment in how they distribute, revenue share or name, image, and likeness? Who makes that final call? Is it the head coach? Is it the GM? To me, because college football is so drastically different than the NFL, particularly in this wild, wild west environment that we have here, because in the NFL, there's rules, right? And everybody's playing with the same deck of cards. We don't have that here. So there's going to be an acclimation process for David Caldwell coming over. And if I'm John Summerall, I can't imagine you take this job without signing off on that, or at least having a prior relationship with that individual to be able to sit down, because you got to make sure you 100% are on the same page with that individual. And then you have to ask yourself, whose decision supersedes who? Like, for example, Lane Kiffin's taking Billy Glasscock to LSU, but Lane Kiffin makes all the decisions.
No doubt.
Okay,
no doubt.
Alex Golesh goes to Auburn. I don't know who he's going to bring in that role. But in today's climate, Bill Parcells said it best. If you expect me to make the dinner, you better let me buy the groceries.
All right. But all in all, a good, you sign off. This looks like a good hire.
Oh, I think it's a great hire. I think it's a terrific hire. I think what we all have to acknowledge, though, is what is wrong at Florida internally, right? I mean, have you looked at Billy Napier and John Summerall's record? It's almost identical. I think it's off by one game.
Right.
And Billy Napier was the hottest thing going in that cycle. And they couldn't get it done, all right? Now you've got John Summerall, who's had a tremendous amount of success. All 4 years of his head coaching career, he's coached a team to a championship game. All of those things are positives. So you ask yourself, what is the problem there?
I think it's a great question, one that I haven't been able to put my finger on. I actually believe that this guy can get it right and get it rolling. I just think he could be the next star in the game that we cover. He is Tom Luginbill with ESPN on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. All right, Alex Golesh, I think it's a solid plus hire. Could be pretty good. Now, retaining DJ Durkin, that dude's a phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so good, as you know, at Ole Miss and A&M and Auburn. And they gave – what a game. Real quick, could you believe that I thought Kalen DeBoer was going to kick the field goal. I did. I mean, fourth and an inch or two or a half a foot or a foot, okay. But it was 4th and 2. What was your reaction when you knew that they were going to – it was a hell of a play call. They pulled it off. But as a former quarterback, longtime analyst, what was your reaction when Bama decided to go with it? Go for it.
That dude's got the biggest cojones in college football right now.
Okay.
Because when you make that call, you're essentially saying, all right, defense, we don't think that Auburn can go 94 yards. So if we don't get this, you have to get us the ball back. Had total confidence in doing that. Secondly, and this is where I think Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb did a great job. Who hurt Auburn from Alabama's side on offense? Who hurt Auburn throughout that entire night?
Tight end?
No, Isaiah Horton.
So
who do they throw the ball to in that moment? Isaiah Horton. So you got the matchup you want. The kid's been playing lights out. All right, he ended the night with 3 touchdown receptions, and you make that call and you make it to the player that has hurt Auburn the most throughout the entire night. So you've done a great job in coaching from that perspective. I thought it was an aggressive call. I may have said this to you back, 4 or 5 weeks into the season, where I really just felt like Kalen DeBoer made an internal decision that he wasn't going to coach against criticism. He wasn't going to coach, against who had previously coached at Alabama. He was going to do it his way. And he was going to be aggressive. And he's going to attack. And let the chips fall where they may. If they fire him, they fire him. If they don't like how he's doing it, fine. But that call in that moment, in that environment, there are very few people that would have been willing to do that.
All right. So, goalless to Auburn, solid plus hire? How do you see that?
I think it's a really good hire. If you want to fix the offense, his offenses have performed at a high level everywhere he has been, including at Iowa State under Matt Campbell. And so, you've got the defensive side of it already set. You actually, if you can keep them, you've got really good players that should be attractive to this new offensive system because they're going to spread you around and they're going to put the ball in the air. I think it's a good hire. I'd like to know, obviously, what's going to happen in terms of where his decision-making comes in relationship to autonomy and having the final say and all of those things. Because as you know, at a place like that, there's a lot of hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
And I think that is something now, Bo, that more than ever before, it used to be your power brokers and your alumni base and your boosters, they had a say, like they had some influence or a nudge. Well, guess what? Those guys are all owners now. They're owners. And they're going to expect a seat at the table. And I think that's dangerous for the sport, but it's the world we're living in right now.
All right. Penn State. They were the first one to jump in the deep end of the pool. And they should have gotten the best spot to lay out in the best float, right? And closest to the ice cooler of beer. So,
yeah.
And look, they may come out with a name, Luke's, it's unbelievable. But they were the first one there, and the chairs are getting filled.
Yeah.
What's going on in Happy Valley, my man?
They got to be going NFL. I can't imagine they're not going that route because first of all, they made the move that they made, okay? And then they gave themselves such a long runway to get ahead of everything, right? To get ahead of signing day, salvage the class. They had the opportunity to get ready for the dead period. They had an opportunity to put themselves in a position to dominate the transfer portal by being so far ahead of everybody else on the coaching cycle. And they've sat back and they've done nothing. And so that leads me to believe they got to be going the professional football route because I don't know what other guys that are out there that fan base and that alumni base, which is massive, is going to think of as an acceptable hire.
Ooh. See, I'd heard Joe Brady 2 months ago, but then people were like, no, man, he likes the NFL and not having to mess with the portal and all that kind of stuff. And as you just laid out 15 minutes ago. The general manager gives you the players in the NFL, and then you roll. Now, some coaches have some say, like you mentioned, Sean Payton and Harbaugh and so on. I mean, dang, you let go of a guy who was winning 10 games a year. There's a lot on the line here in Happy Valley, Luke.
Oh, huge. I mean, this is such a monumental hire that you have to get right. Because if you don't, then it just blows right up in your face, and you're going to have James Franklin sitting up in Blacksburg laughing his ass off.
Yes, you are. And, I mean, there's rumors that Heupel may interview. I find it hard to believe. I know anything can happen in this profession, as we all know, but I find it hard to believe, Tom, that Heupel's going to go from Tennessee to Penn State. Your thoughts?
Each day that passes, I think he's feeling less and less appreciated there.
Okay.
And they're starting to heat him up a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see if kind of takes on the mentality. You know what? These guys don't want me around here. Why don't I go, get a fresh start to some place that actually wants me to coach for them?
Yeah, that would be. Oh, Tennessee. I don't think they understand. Look, I get. Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt just embarrassed them. And that's happened like once in the last 60 years to in that rivalry, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
And look, that was a hell of it. Diego ripped off some play. Good grief. But he's so much fun to watch and so entertaining.
They're a playoff team. I'm telling you, they're a playoff team.
10-2.
I don't know if they'll get in, but they're a playoff team. Not just with their record, the way they play.
Golly. I mean, Clark Lee, Jerry Kill, whoever the offensive coordinator that came with Jerry, and then Diego and that crew, what they've done there, they finished 10-2 at Vanderbilt. I never thought that I would live to see that growing up.
And look good doing it.
It's a good point. That's a good point. All right. But anyway, if I'm Danny White at Tennessee, I'm like, no, man, we love you because they may be frustrated with this year, but he's done a hell of a job. He's a damn good football coach. And it kind of goes back to Penn State, unless they were to land a Heupel. You got to be careful if you're not happy with your guy just because he's not winning 10 or 11 games, because you don't know who you can fill that spot with, Luke.
And is that spot going to be filled with somebody that your fan base looks at like an upgrade? That's the thing, because all of this stuff with these guys, as these jobs start getting filled, the candidates out there, right, wrong, or indifferent, are perceived to be less sexy.
Yeah.
And you just don't know at some places how that will go over.
Dan Mullen.
There's 3 really good jobs in the American right now.
Oh, no question. No doubt about it. And because those guys, whoever takes those, can be the next guys to go to these bigger programs and make.
Well, and it's already ready-made.
That's right. So Mullen just won 10 in Las Vegas, UNLV, and he just got there. And I don't care where you're winning in sports. It's hard to do and so on. Mm-hmm. He just got there. His son's a junior in high school. He's on a kick-tail AAU basketball team. Looks like Cannon's going to play college hoops at some level. But that would not be a bad hire whatsoever for Penn State, would it?
No, it would be a great hire. But you know what? I don't think Dan Mullen wants to do it. I think he's sitting there going, you know what? I'm in Vegas. I've got a good little setup here. We've got enough money to compete at the Group of 5 level, name, image, and likeness. We're on the same plane right now with Boise. If we can get to 8, 9, 10 wins, play for a conference championship every year, every other year, why would you want to deal with all the headaches?
Yeah.
Why would you want to deal with all of the nonsense?
And okay, but
it would be a great hire. It would probably be the best hire that they could make, given the set of circumstances.
I agree.
Right,
I agree. It sounds crazy. I don't think he's going to leave. Now, you don't ever know.
I don't either.
But I just talked to him a couple of months ago when I was out there, and I could not believe how happy he was. Yep. They have found some boosters that are willing to help them in NIL. And he said, here's what he told me, Luke. He said, Bo, getting kids here to play before the portal was extremely difficult because you don't want to live here with no money. Okay.
Yeah.
He said, now with the portal, kids can actually go and have a steak dinner on the strip.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
he was like, look, my quarterback lives in a condo right off the strip. I was like, okay, if I'm 22 years old, that's not a bad deal, Luke.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, I replaced him on the Thursday night ESPN package.
Right.
And so me and Matt Berry, probably every couple of weeks, whatever, we'd get him on speakerphone every week. And I would tell you the exact same thing. He's having a hell of a time. He's having fun. He's enjoying it. He's not in that meat grinder. And who knows, maybe that'll change. Maybe he'll look at it differently depending on the job. But I think he's perfectly happy doing what he's doing.
Okay. I think we're going to do one more hit this week because you're on the road next week. So we'll get into the college football playoff, and we'll get the rankings tomorrow, and we'll see where that. We'll text after the show. You can tell me what looks good for you. Appreciate it, buddy, and we'll talk again this week. Okay.
Appreciate you. See ya.
Tom Luginbill with ESPN. He's going to do 2 hits this week because next week he's on the road, so that'll be good. It just depends on his schedule. We'll see where Ole Miss lands. Jackson was talking about during the break. We'll see where Ole Miss lands tomorrow night, right? And Luginbill's like, you can't penalize them. They didn't do anything. And he makes a good point. Ole Miss went 11-1. God. Did Lane Kiffin do the most? That's the best coaching job in that.
Oh, yeah.
I know that we've had some others that have come through and won like 9 games with a roster that maybe wasn't near as talented, but good Lord, to go 11-1.
It's just like that.
Golly.
11-1. And not there. And he's gone. Just like that.
Brutal.
And it's still a legend. Legend in Oxford should be heralded as such, and that's that.
I think he will be at some point, but it's going to take a minute.
It's going to take a minute. I mean, he's a villain.
It's going to take a minute to shower this stuff off.
Oh, yeah.
This you-know-what that I can't say.
But like,
it's going to take a couple of showers. Hey, we are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by the Mississippi State University, Bagley College of Engineering. Bagley graduates had a 94% success rate in post-graduation placement, job or continuing ed, like masters and so on. Of course, some of them stay to get their PhDs. Graduates work at the best companies in state, regionally, and across the country. For years, the Bagley College of Engineering has been the largest college at MSU by number of students, with a certified enrollment of over 5,000 in the fall of 2024. We're excited to have the MSU Bagley College of Engineering on the Out of Bounds Show. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.